Hello, how are you? It's Friday, March 3rd. New month, new moves, new month, new moves. Alright, we got tons to talk about. I think I'm live. Let me just double check. Yes, I am. Alright, cool. So I missed yesterday. I do apologize about that. So we got a lot to catch up on here. Just bust out my notes. So yesterday started out real dicey. We had another huge overnight futures seller. Obviously, this is old, so I'll be quick about yesterday and then talk more about today and what's coming next. But we had a huge futures seller Wednesday evening. Just massive, massive sellers. And at first I thought, oh boy, we're going to open under the 200-day moving average in the S&P, and we're going to have a really rough day. We did open under. We tested it from underneath, sold off, tested it again, got over, tested it from above, and then things just started going sideways. And then things started perking up a little bit, and the phenomenon that's going on in these markets and what's moving markets is just why I say, get in and get out, make your money and move on. 0 day to expiration calls started hitting the tape. And when we're at the 200, there was a ton of 0 day to expiration puts that were sold. So everybody's already short. If you're on FinTwit at all, everybody is incredibly bearish. And when we got to the 200 day, it broke through and then back tested it. We started seeing a bunch of puts being sold. So the premiums on puts were pretty high. They started selling those, indicating they don't think we're going down anymore. So they sold. They sold the vol on it, volatility, collected the premiums, and then we started drifting higher. And I know some people will say it was all the 0 day to expiration puts that were sold and the calls that were bought, meaning we'd go higher. But the market wasn't quite responding yet until Bostic dropped some words of wisdom on the market. He basically said that, now let's keep in mind, Bostic was a voting member of the Fed. He's not a voting member of the Fed. He has no vote. He is a member of the Fed, but he doesn't have a vote, so he does not vote on monetary policy at all. It was interesting timing because the 10-year the 10-year interest rate was at about 4.08, and it wasn't letting up. It was just drifting higher and higher and higher until Bostic came out and said that he thinks it might be appropriate to pause second half of the year. So we had this whole narrative of, going back to the beginning of the year, that the Fed is going to cut. The market was positioned that the Fed's going to cut rates by the end of the year. And then they had the whole, hashtag big flip that was going around, meaning inflation's now uncontrollable. Labor market's not getting tighter. Spending's going up. Basically everything pointing to, inflation's getting stickier and stickier. There's no way in hell the Fed can cut at the end of the year. So slowly shifted. We're pricing in another rate hike by the end of the year, which is why everything was down so much. That was why the S&P was down. I think we had 8 days in a row of red candles, which I'm pretty sure. I think we had one silly. I think I posted, check my Twitter a few days ago. I posted something about what's the formation called in the S&P candles. It's one of the weirdest looking things I've ever seen. 1, 2. We're going to call that one red because please, up to after being down 70 is not really a green day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 in a row, and it looked like we were going for 10 until Bostic changed things. And when he said that, we were kind of sitting just over the 200 day. And then he said that, and all of a sudden it was gangbusters. It was yesterday afternoon. He came out, 12:30 Central. Initial pop was 18 points. Bears tried to sell it off. Nope. Next pop was another 10. And then we just kind of ran from there. Which brings me to two names. We talked about Microsoft a lot, and I know that everybody was saying the AI is all hype. All this new AI stuff is all just hype to pump names, to pump NVIDIA, that everybody thinks was overvalued at 225. Now it's 238, so they should be shorting more. The other one that really suffered, and we talked about it a few times, and I mentioned a few days ago, was Microsoft. That one had, I don't think I've seen this one before. I think 8 straight red days. I mean, it does track the S&P, so it kind of makes sense, but there was no real news on it, other than everybody thinking that the AI was all hype and ChatGPT was, all that honeymoon phase was over. I want to talk about the power of options. So this thing looked like it was dying again. Boston came out, and for the first time in 8 days, it popped $2, like immediately, like a quick $2. That was from 245, popped to 247. At that time, you could have bought, I'll just go through this really quick. The 225s, the 225 calls, sorry, the 255 calls, those went from 22 cents to 80. 252 calls, only $5 out after this thing just went on a $20 cascade over the course of 8 days. 66 cents to $3. So for every 66 cents you put in, you get $3 back. The one I did was the 250s. Right when Bostic spoke, they were 75 cents. Those went to $5. That's over 5 times your money in 24 hours. The power of options is pretty insane, which is why we have all this, 0 days to expiration nonsense going on, because it's not really nonsense. It's okay. We realize that, basically every option you buy is leveraged. And so you buy one option, you're buying 100 shares of something. So you buy 10, you have 1,000 shares. And these things move like crazy. I mean, sometimes, like Meta today, some of those options went 20x. That's insane. 20x in one day. This is why everybody loves the stock market. It's a giant casino, and you can bet small and win big. But that's kind of what, why we're now in this price doesn't really matter. It's all just about option flow. All the big boys moving in around wherever they want. I don't think there's a ton of investors. I'll get to that in a second. I'll finish up with Microsoft here. So it's kind of just, the biggest thing in this game is patience, and you wait and you wait and you wait. You're like a lion in the Sierra, just ready to pounce. Yeah, more so a cheetah. They stalk better. Lions are a little more, they a little more strategy there. Cheetah doesn't have a giant pack to go. Anyways, getting off track. Sorry. Microsoft was like a beach ball, and the S&P was like a beach ball. It was every single day for, a week, 2 weeks almost, trading days. Just push it down, push it down. Every little pop, push it down further. Just keep laying on it, keep selling on it. Don't let it breathe. If you ever at the beach or in a pool and you got a big ass, beach ball, and you slowly start pushing it down, it gets harder and harder and harder to push down. That displacement just makes it heavier and heavier. You keep pushing it down, you keep pushing it down. Then you got this thing like a foot underwater. That's kind of like what the market was the past 2 weeks. It's that beach ball just getting pushed further and further down. And then obviously it, hit a key moment of the 200-day moving average, which is massive technically for these things, for this market. And then all of a sudden you got Bostic, and that was just a trigger. That was a trigger going, oh, maybe we have this wrong. And then it's a race. So you let go of that beach ball, that thing shoots up out of the water, and that's exactly what we saw. In one day, and starting yesterday afternoon, a day and a half maybe. S&P up $100, Meta up $15, Apple up $7, Tesla up $12, Nvidia up $15. I'm sure the overpriced Nvidia people love that. Growth names went bonkers. So that's what happens. And then it's okay, now everybody's positioned short. One little trigger changes everything that quickly. I mean, well, now the ball's above water, so we'll probably have some follow-through buying on Monday, and then we kind of figure it out. We're approaching the 20-day moving average now. We're above the 50, so could see some more upside before we, kind of figure out where we're going for the next move. Hope that analogy helps and made sense. The 10-year today closed under 4, which was another catalyst. Over 4 is pretty bearish stocks. It's somewhere we haven't been in a long time, so it's a key. It's kind of a key metric going forward. I mean, if you pop on CNBC right now, it goes 10-year Treasury yield falls back below 4%. I mean, that alone, if it's headline on the biggest, I don't like CNBC, but if it's on one of the biggest sites, then you know it's important. So that we'll keep an eye on rates. Things start getting dicey back over 10, or the 10-year over 4. But until then, I mean, just gotta keep an eye on rates. VIX, I think at one point, did we get it? No, we almost did. Almost got that 17 handle. 18, 16 on the VIX. Again, the VIX is not short term. They used to call it the fear indicator until people realized what it was actually. It's a 30-day hedge against down, basically 30-day hedge against big moves. So the market's pricing in right now is, we'll move around, but it's not going to be that extreme. And what I think is going to happen is one of these days, something out of the ordinary is going to happen, like a black swan event of some sort. Because the play is just sell volatility. Sell it. Just sell it. Like, stocks will be down a bunch, and then they'll start selling the money puts, and then we'll start rallying, and they'll just start hammering the VIX lower. It's worked for a very, very long time. It continues to work. But at some point, it's not going to work. At some point, some event is going to happen where they can no longer control it. And then they're going to be caught really offsides. And you're going to see a massive spike in the VIX. Massive. And stocks are going to be struggling. But we're not there yet, so play it by ear, be patient, get in, get out. And, that's just the dynamic of our market right now. And it'll change and adapt, and new info will come out or new comments will be made by the people who run it. And then you adapt with it. Don't fight it. Just play it. Just play it. With that, I'm going to do a quick shift because this one's pretty wild. He might do it again, people. The Icon puts. Carl Icon did the 3950 ES puts, and he was in the money. He was in the money, but he's no longer in the money. I want to laugh because this is a ruthless game, and again, I only giggle because it's Carl Icahn. He can do this 1,000 times, and he'll be completely fine. He won't even notice it out of his bank account or his trading account or whatever. He's that rich, so that's the only reason I laugh. Otherwise, it's not funny. It's ruthless is what it is. So he bought these things, these ES puts, 2-3 weeks ago, in 2 weeks, so March 17th, I think they expire. He bought them kind of where he got the other ones. That those two, I think they 2.5x'd for him, so double and a half winner, and he didn't sell any, and then those ended up going to 0. So he bought these, did it again. So he bought them at like 25. Yesterday morning, these things were at $75. Yesterday morning, $75. I don't think he sold any. Based on the volume, I think he bought 24,000. The open interest is 28,000, so I think he was still holding. And the volume has been, 500 here and there a day. And today's volume wasn't very big either. Maybe 3K. Actually, let me just look it up. I can look that up real quick, I think. Nah, I can't. Maybe. So it started at $75 yesterday. They closed at the low today at $21. So you went from being 3x, call it, to down in 36 hours in 2 trading days. I mean, that's just nuts. The guy's got balls of steel. They traded 3,300 today, and the open interest is 28. So even if you sold a couple, it's like it's not going to cover the position. Anyways, he still has time. There's 2 weeks left. We are 100 points higher now. I mean, those things were 25. The low yesterday was 39.25, so he's $25 in the money. And then Bostic ruined everything for him. Shift quick gears. Want to talk about, I touched on it a little bit earlier, the AI hype that everybody thought was a bunch of baloney. Doesn't seem that way. I think it's real, you guys. Nvidia's at yearly highs again. Microsoft bounced back hard. Google even bounced back hard. But another name came out with earnings yesterday. This morning, last night. I don't know. But basically, the earnings were fine, but they're basically saying it's C3 AI. The ticker AI. This went, it started getting some love back in January. Kind of when these are the guys who created ChatGPT, and it started getting love when Microsoft invested a ton into them, and now basically owns ChatGPT. This was a $12 stock 2 months ago. They came out on earnings, and the earnings were fine, but which everybody was like, you guys aren't making any money. Yeah, but it's not about what they made last quarter when all this new stuff is coming out. It's about what's coming next. What's coming next? What do they have in the pipeline? What are their next ideas? And basically, the market thinks that there's a ton of applications for this company, and they're literally just getting started. Because that thing is up $7 today, up 33% at 28.30. So AI hype is real, and except, I mean, you just think about the future. I mean, if ChatGPT is the first thing out and it's not even really implemented yet, just think about all the things that that could be automated or assisted with, all the jobs that could be replaced by it. I mean, I can't even put a value on it yet, which is nuts. But yeah, too much hype. And again, if all this shit happens, they need more servers, they need more computing power. Okay, who's going to supply all that? Like, this is a new infrastructure that hasn't. All right, so if you replace, I don't know, call it a press secretary, I'm just making up something random. You tell ChatGPT to write a press release for you. Okay, imagine how many jobs that has to replace. You're using the computing power of that, former press secretary's laptop. And then if you have, add 100,000 of those, add 100,000 journalists, or not necessarily journalists, but like press releases, all that other, internal communications, basically anything. I mean, you could create websites, like sport websites, and just have an AI do it. So if you have users that boom from, I don't even know what the user count is yet for ChatGPT, but if that booms, and just call it like 10 million people, that's a ton of computing power. That's a ton of server space that needs to be built out. It's not, you can't take it from anything else. There's no infrastructure like it. So chips, semiconductors, all that stuff, I mean, it has a huge potential catalyst sitting underneath it. That's my point of view. I could be wrong, but I think saying that NVIDIA at 95 PE is, or 106, whatever it is too expensive, but then you don't mention ServiceNow, which has a 3x PE of that, and not say anything about that company. Like, you're picking and choosing. Just because you're short NVIDIA doesn't mean that PE all of a sudden matters. The market doesn't care. The market literally doesn't care about PE. If it did, you'd have a ton of penny stocks. Snowflake would be a penny stock. Doesn't make any money. So their PE is nothing, zero, negative. It's actually negative. Anyways. So that's my thought. Tesla day was funny per usual. Anybody else notice how disinterested Elon was at the beginning? Certainly didn't help his stock price at the time. It was down $15 yesterday. Did you see the robot video? Is that CGI? Certainly looks like CGI. And he didn't say like, oh, this robot is doing this and that. He just goes, tons of arms and legs, tons of limbs, so many limbs. Okay, you got a bunch of limbs that move around, like Garth Algar in Wayne's World when he's got the robotic hand that's moving around. He smacks with the hammer. So you got a bunch of that. Cool. Where's the rest of it? But of course, all the Tesla culties go, oh, this is the best thing ever. There's going to be millions of these all over. Have you looked at Boston Dynamics and how far they are? Tesla's not even close. Not even close. Go look at Boston Dynamics and then go back to that Tesla dark video and then say Tesla's close. If they... Here's a prime example. So if that thing was really walking around in that video, why didn't they just bring it out on stage? Bring it out. But they couldn't do that because it was CGI. It was fake. Anyways. Also, Cybertruck, he basically said, how can we make a super cheap car? And he goes, oh, I know. Don't bend any of the panels. Then you don't have any presses. Yeah, I mean, smart. But then you have a god-awful looking, fugly-ass truck. And people are, oh, it's the best thing ever. First off, I'm taking the over on first deliveries past 2024. Over. First ones are going to have a lot of problems. And I'm probably going to giggle every time I see you drive by in one because they're just ugly, ugly cars. And he's going to make them cheap. And you see the interior? Dear Lord. Dear Lord. But people are going to buy them, so he's a hell of a marketeer. All right. Getting a lot of hand with Muskie. All right, 2 more things for you. I know it's a long one. Sorry I missed it yesterday, but I am on a roll. 2 things. One, remember we were talking about Silvergate SI? Yeah, pull that chart up real quick. It finally shit hit the fan. Crypto.com, Gemini, Bitstamp, Circle, Galaxy, Paxos, Coinbase all pulled relationships with Silvergate. They all said no more wire transfers from Silvergate. It was $13, $13.60, dropped to about $9.50, and dropped to about $4.99. Then they had a little short squeeze profit taking by the weak hands that don't understand that a bankrupt company goes to zero, but that's fine. To each their own. You probably made some good coin. I think it rallied back up. It touched $4.99 today, and then $4.85, I should say. Then rallied back up to $6.34, and then settled back down a little bit to $5.60. So kind of right in the middle. And of course, the young bucks in crypto all thought, or in the market all thought, like, oh, it's the next short squeeze and it's going back to 15. It's like, come on, guys. It's not hard to see. The writing's on the wall. I'd be surprised if they open the doors on Monday. I talked about this like 3 weeks ago. When this happens, what happens? Everybody pulls all their, when they say we're not working with that bank anymore, that it's done. The door's closed. That's it. And the door's closed. Like, all right, well, they still have assets. They're not going to have assets. Some other bank is going to either get them from seizure from the government, because this is a money laundering bank. They're either going to just get them, and it sounds like Wells Fargo might actually get that, and the bank's going to go into conservatorship. Your assets are gone. You're a criminal. It's not like, oh, you go to jail and you get to still work and make money. It's like, no, you're done. You're out. Anyways, they seized your stuff. You don't have anything left. I'd be surprised if this thing is not $1 on Monday. they're done. Signature Bank, I think, is next because a lot of those went over to Signature Bank. And if they're doing that with Silvergate, the laundering and all that other illegal activity, then they're just going to do it with Signature Bank, who's already kind of been slightly exposed. They're a little better run, a little more respected. They don't have, sheds for, banks. But it's just the same thing. That'll happen next. That's like $113 right now. If the same thing happens, and I do think it does, probably give it another 3 months or so. That will be a fun ride to zero. That'll be life-changing money. You can buy $60 puts for 30 cents. Just do some quick math. So let's say you bought 100 of those times 100 times 0.3, 30 cents. So 3K you put in. 3K. Yeah, get out of $5. 3,000 into 550,000. You just gotta. Silvergate was impossible at the time. We didn't know when it was going to happen, so that's the only thing. The further out you go, the better. September's are 2. 1 June. Yeah, it's going to be tough to time, but we'll start seeing it. Anyway, Silvergate, glad it's finally happened. I hate criminals. They're one of the biggest, so. It hurts crypto, but don't do illegal stuff and you won't get hurt so bad. It's simple. And it's not a big conspiracy that, they're going after Silverbank or Silvergate because they work with crypto. They're going after it because they're laundering money and giving customers access to other customers' accounts. You can't do that. And you guys want to be self-regulated, but who wants to if I have an account, let's call it, a decentralized bank or whatever, and then you just give my buddy access to my account? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So until you guys figure out the self-regulation shit, no one's interested. Everybody thinks the whole system's corrupt, and until you fix that, and Silvergate's not helping, then no one's going to fully adopt it. It's that simple. Just be clean. Don't let Bankman-Frieds of the world fraud their way to the top. Just be smarter. Ask questions and don't get shut down. Well, that's the thing. You ask questions and they just shut you down. Oh, you don't understand. You don't get this, that. No, I'm just asking questions. It's a simple question. Anyways. All right. I'll finish up with, I guess that's kind of it. That was it. Good round. Holy shoot. 33 minutes, longest by far. Bitcoin did get smacked. And I don't think it was Silvergate. I think, MT Gox. Remember them? That was like 6 years ago or something. I didn't know they had a bunch of Bitcoin still locked up. So I guess that got released, which probably was part of the reason Bitcoin was just randomly down $1,000 yesterday, overnight. But there's also the Ether, whatever the Ether fork is releasing a bunch of staked coins, I guess. So I think that's another headwind to stuff that's been locked up since the last one, I think, if I understand that right. So, Ether's down, $100? $15.50. They both broke key levels, so keep an eye on those. I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin went back to like 18.5. The other rumor was that I may have started it, but was that Michael Saylor had to sell his Bitcoins to cover $200 million loan he had with Silvergate, but we'll never know. Alright, that's enough for me. I missed you guys. Sorry, that's why I had to rant so long. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Don't do anything dumb. And we will see you on